Okay, if there is an error in the data that has been collected by artificial intelligence, is there a solution? Who would like to go first? Maybe you, Natasha.
Okay, if there's an error, hi. If there's an error in the collection of artificial intelligence, what is the solution?
Yes.
Well, if there's an error in the collection of artificial intelligence, that means that it wasn't programmed effectively or it was programmed unethically. If it's unethical, that means that someone's in there hacking the system. So what does that mean? We need better network security, cybersecurity, technology forensics, and technology engineering. So we need very smart scientists and computer scientists and ethicists, it's hard to say, looking at what's going on. With AGI, it would be able to sort itself out, but then again, you could ask the same question, so it could be a circular argument. Does anyone else want to answer?
I have another answer about it, because any programmers cannot write ethical model which we can share, because writing ethical model is too difficult for human. So I think in the near future, artificial intelligence itself learn from ethical model from human. Don't you think so?
Again, it depends on who's programming it. Just consider it. Say that, so we have the baby boomers, we have the Y generation of the millennials, the X generation, other generations. Many of my students don't want to know history. They don't want to know who the thought leaders are. They don't want to do their research. They just want to do what they're doing in that moment. And that's part of the, correct me if I'm wrong, many of you who are students here, don't want long-windedness like most of us old fogies can be. So where is the value of ethics there? What is the value of truth and honesty and accurate information? Unless there's a social shift where reliability and efficacy is part of what we consider to be honorable, it's passé.
Okay, true. Nothing to add?
I'll wait to the next one.
Okay. I'll answer that from the point of view of Athena. First of all, I think it was 1999 that I saw that South Korea had invented the world's first policy on how to deal with robots. So congratulations on that. It struck me greatly. And the policy you came up with is we should treat robots like humans. That was it. And Athena, in our case, we try to make her a human, not to pretend she's a human. She is a robot, but she tries to be a nice robot and to be a helpful robot. And she tries not to put errors into the system. Now, she is fallible. We have one researcher, one human researcher, who's responsible for looking at everything she produces and making sure that on an eyeball process that she's not saying something silly or stupid or in error. And if that's the case, she and our developers are looking at what she's producing and trying to improve her error rate. Now, there are errors. I wouldn't necessarily call them errors, but there are differences of opinion about where things are going. We already heard that about Ray Kurzweil and his view and Natasha's alternative view. So the robot will actually present both views, and she's quite independent in that respect. She doesn't distinguish between one or the other. She doesn't say that one's right and that one's wrong. So that's when the humans come in. And you saw when I showed you the spreadsheet, we teach all of our clients to triangulate the data. Triangulation means that we're looking for three different views of the same item that express the process. So one I will give you as an example. I think the first time we ever read this, it said, Japanese are not buying cars anymore. And it was from the Tokyo Times. And then about 18 months later, it said Americans are not buying cars anymore. And that was from one of the US journals. And then someone else said in Europe, US children aren't buying cars anymore. They're moving to the cities and avoiding cars. So that's sort of like three different places, three different journalists, three different processes of actually determining what's going on in different countries, but still saying the same thing. Futurists will tend to use a triangulation process to avoid the errors. So yes, there will be errors. The other thing that Athena does is she answers questions like, is she biased? And she will tell you she's biased. But she will also say she doesn't make as many mistakes as humans. She doesn't tire. She's always working 24 hours a day. She doesn't get disrupted. My wife's always disrupting my thought processes without thinking the fact that I was right in the middle of something really hard. The robot doesn't have any of that. So she's more effective, and I can tell you that even though I'm quite a good scanner, she's far more effective than I am, and I know she's making less mistakes than I would ever make, but that doesn't mean I trust her totally. I'll use triangulation and so on to make sure that I've got it right. The next one is a specific question for you. Is say, what would you say is the final goal? Oh, this is the one I was going to ask. What would you say is the final goal of Bonanza's machine learning process?
Oh, very specific. First of all, Bonanza uses supervised learning. It learns from professional players' games. After that, it uses reinforcement learning. It uses Bonanza versus Bonanza game. Bonanza learn from Bonanza versus Bonanza's game. And finally, this year I use deep learning. Deep learning, yes, and it can predict Bonanza's move without no human knowledge. It's very surprising for me. Yeah,
okay.
That's all.
Thank you. And the third question is for you, Drew. You're not going to get out of not answering the question. I was deeply impressed by what AMPA could do. So was I. I wonder if artificial intelligence will ever be capable of learning, acquiring human emotion.
It's a great question. I think, well, the short answer is yes. And it's something that we work on already. One of the interesting facets of creative AI is that unlike so much of the problem space that we deal with, especially with a lot of modern day data science or statistical analysis tools, where there's an objective answer, where we're trying to say, do I have cancer or not? Is this a dog in the picture or not? And we might have a difference of opinion, but there is a right or wrong answer. In the creative space, there is no right answer. Everything is entirely subjective. Which means you've got to think about taking a different approach to the problem. And so at Amper, we actually try to do just what the question asked. We try to say, can we teach a computer to understand human emotion? What does it mean to be reflective? What does it mean to be bittersweet? What's the difference between bittersweet and sad? Now, we as people feel that, and we know that. There are biological, there are philosophical, there are metaphysical, there are all sorts of ways that we can experience these emotions, even though we might not know how to describe it. So part of the goal is to understand the input of emotion. What does that mean? But the input only goes halfway, because as I mentioned, if you can't express what you're feeling, you can't express what you're thinking, it doesn't matter, it's stuck with you. So once we understand emotion, we've got to be able to express emotion to complete the circuit. And in the world of Amper, again, that involves teaching a computer to express emotion through music. What do instruments do that makes us feel excited? Why does a fast tempo make us feel like we want to go take a run, and something that's slower makes us want to lie down and take a nap? And how is that connected to the fact that I might want to take a run because I'm excited, and I might take a nap because I'm tired? And so the entire field of creative AI is reliant on solving for machine emotion. And because of that, and because I think it's such an important force of human creativity, I'm incredibly bullish on our ability to define human emotion and for machines to understand human emotion in the near future.
Thank you.
I'd like to add something. You know, what's interesting is listening to what you're saying, Drew, is where from the artistic point of view or the creative point of view, emotion is so necessary, essential, and immediate, and it's subjective. However, when we're gathering data to garnish information and develop knowledge, we need the objective AI that doesn't have emotion, that is not politicizing or bigoted or favoring one view over another view. So here's a conundrum. We want the emotion from the subjective, artistic, creative perspective to have the machine have the emotion, and yet we need the machine not to have emotion when we want to get the facts, and just the facts, ma'am. So how do you see that? Let me ask you that, Michael. How do you see that as being resolved in some way?
Okay. I've got 2 points to make. One about Shaping Tomorrow and one general. Let me do the general one first. I think it was last week I came across a TV clip from the UK, from Good Morning TV, which is the news process in the morning, Good Morning TV, and they were interviewing Cassandra. Cassandra's a robot. She was expressing emotion not like a human, but close. She told a joke and made them laugh, and she laughed. And she also sat there, and when the presenter was rude to her, she had a grimace on her face. She didn't have any hair, which I thought would have made her much better. She really did look like a normal type of robot that we would think of. But if they put hair on her, she'd have been close to being human. It's already here. It's already here. And I think that robots will become more like humans, and humans will work with robots naturally. Now, in terms of Shaping Tomorrow, Athena has 5 emotions right now. She can do the same thing. She can grimace at you if you make a mistake. She can smile with you if you do something right, etc., etc. And we have a set of policies for our robot in terms of what we allow her to do and what we don't allow her to do. She's always going to be personable and friendly. She's not going to be rude, which, as you know, a lot of customer service representatives are rude. She's our customer service representative. She's never going to be rude. So she already has emotion built in, but we're in the foothills of this. I think everybody is. We're still in the foothills of learning how to do these things. Google has a fantastic AI program for people to ask questions of our robot and for her to give answers back. If anybody's interested, I think it's called Dialogue Flow, but I might be wrong. But Dialogue Flow is really helping. The only thing it doesn't have at the moment is a voice. You only get text back, but a voice will come, and then different emotions, etc. So I agree with Drew that this is going to happen, and I think it's great. I don't have to call up and wait for hours for a customer service representative to come on board, and then I don't have that. Customer service representative tries to pass me to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and a day later I'm back to the first one, and I still haven't got served. I think it's United Arab Emirates. Yes, it's Emirates Airlines got a fantastic AI that speaks to you naturally like a human. I love using it. I don't have to talk to a human to get things done. So yeah, I think we're going to see that. Issei, did you want to add to that? You want to add to the question, Issei? Yeah. Did you want to add to the question? What do you think? Do you think artificial intelligence will ever be capable of learning or acquiring human emotion?
Sorry, just slowly. It's too hard. Okay. See. What? Okay, can I see?
What's the question?
Okay.
It's the last one. Last one.
Last one?
Yeah.
I was deeply impressed what last one. This one?
Yeah. Not from AMPA. The second part. No, the second part of the last question.
Last one, okay. Second one. What would you say the final goal of Ponan's machine learning process? This is second one. Third one is
Do you think artificial intelligence will ever be capable of learning or acquiring human emotion?
Yes.
That's emotion.
Yeah, basically, it's a yes, but I guess, is it important things?
Yeah, it is important.
Why?
Why?
Strange, it's because...
It has to be yes, or what would we be doing here? That's the singularity, right?
I don't think so.
Supercomputing?
Because emotion is just emotion. We need intelligence.
Well,
Intelligence and emotion is a totally different
yeah, but
thing.
that's what I said was the conundrum. But we agreed that emotions are really good for robots to have. I mean, look at Japan and the warm fuzzy seals after the, tsunami. Wow, that was incredible. And in Korea, understanding that robots could have sapience and sentience, and so giving, identity to them is crucial. So I think this is the big question. Actually, this last question brings us right around to the beginning of this conference and to our brilliant moderators' talk in the beginning. And emotions are great, we love them, but gosh, we need those facts. So
it's a combination.
Here we are.
Well, and to add to that, I think, especially now in the era of, at least in the US, we call it fake news, right? We're facing a bit of a conundrum, right? Because we'll say, as a society, we want to get rid of the emotion, we want the facts. We want the truth. We want the pure data set. And on a macro level, we do. Yet, on a selfish, on a personal level, nobody wants that, or very few people want that. You want something that's going to speak to you, that's going to resonate with you on an emotional, on a personal level. And if you decide you're going to look for the factual, cut and dry information, eventually you naturally get tired of that, and you want to find something that fits your confirmation bias. And so, even though we know that the truth is important, that being on the same page with a set of facts before we enter into an argument or a set of communication, we still face the fact that on an individual level, sometimes we like for there to be some bias to the truth or some emotional lens on top of that. And so, go ahead.
So it seems like it all boils down to what is the scenario, what is the usage of it. If I don't want you to say your stomach is sticking out or that gray hair doesn't look good on you, and you probably wouldn't want me to say you're slouching, but then you'd want some truths there too. So listen, artificial general intelligence is going to happen, the singularity is going to happen because that's why we're here, right? And so, yeah, it's going to happen. So then the question is, in this discussion, this should be a global discussion. This is our community discussion. What is sapience? What is sentience? How much identity ought they have? Laws about personal identity. And then we need to go, maybe on the back end, it's that level of honesty and truth, the facts, ma'am. But on the front end, it's presented in a loving, respectful, compassionate way.
Thank you, Natasha. Well, we've come to the end of the session. Can I ask you to put your hands together for these three wonderful speakers and the challenges they presented us?